Duke breaks out of the pit to search for a giant robot. Does he find what he's looking for, or does he find something much worse? We're going to talk about it in our review of Duke number 4 from Image Comics and Skybound. See you in 3. And welcome back to Comical Opinions. This is our review of Duke number 4, and in this issue, the rebellious Joe breaks out of the pit to track down a mysterious energy source tied to the robot he's been searching for, but he only finds more trouble. Well, before we get started, please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. Your attention is greatly appreciated. Make sure you stay tuned to the end for the final score. Let's talk about the credits for Duke number 4. It's written by Joshua Williamson, art by Tom Riley, colors by Jordi Belair, letters by Russ Wooten, and the cover art for the main cover, cover A, is also drawn by Tom Riley. Recapping what happened previously in Duke number 3, Duke was captured by the Joes after a contentious fight where he really was conflicted about the fact that he's turning on the government that once he basically gave his entire life to in service and in loyalty. And they threw him in the pit next to the jail cell of the Baroness. So now the Baroness is playing mind games with him, trying to convince him to help her break out so the two of them can go on the run together, because she realizes Duke is one of the elite Joes, and her best chance of getting out of prison is to go with Duke or get him to help her escape. While they're trying to figure all that stuff out, the pit is attacked by Cobra Commander's not necessarily his main forces, but at least his mercenary forces, led by Major Blood, who makes his first time appearance in the Energon universe. They break into the pit, they go down, and they're trying to basically find Duke so they can kill him and or capture him. Major Blood leads the charge. He gets to the prison cells. The fight breaks out, and in the course of the fight, Baroness shoots Major Blood in the head, and we think he's dead. That's the end of that story. And now she turns the gun on Duke, while the rest of the Joes that were there to support Duke are fighting it out with some of the mercenaries that accompanied Major Blood in his first wave. That's the end of issue number 3. We're going to talk about issue number 4 real quick. So what happens is, now in this issue, Duke basically says, if you're going to shoot me, get it over with. I'm tired of fighting. I need to get to where I'm going to go, but if I can't escape, just shoot me and just be done with it. Through a little bit of a back and forth, pitter-patter conversation, or banter, I should say, Baroness decides to help Duke, and they take off. But in the course of their escape, because they can't go up because Cobra Commander forces are up top, they decide to go down. And when they go down, that leads them to basically an abandoned vehicle and weapons ammo depot underneath the pit, where they have a lot of vehicles that don't have any ammo but are still in functional shape. Meanwhile, up top, we see that Major Blood has survived. Surprise, he survived, but he's certainly lost an eye in the process, and now he's out for revenge. Meanwhile, down below, the few Joes that are with Duke and the Baroness, they all basically gear up a bunch of decommissioned vehicles that are still in perfectly working condition but are good enough, and Duke is in a jet. And what happens is, as the forces up top are getting ready to stage their next assault, the door opens up and the vehicles come flying out. Duke takes off in his jet, and the rest of the forces rest of the Joes are in tanks and transport vehicles, and they just start ramming everybody, including Major Blood, to buy Duke time to escape and fly off. Duke eventually flies off to the last destination he recalled from Dr. Burkhart's sensor device, where the energy was located, where he believes that giant robot is going to be. He flies into the area that's up in the mountains, a lot of snowy area, and what do we see? There is a base there, and that base is owned and operated by Destro, who orders Scrap Iron to start shooting missiles at the jet that Duke is flying. The jet gets hit, the plane crashes, but Duke manages to eject in time and escape and sneak his way into the base. And as he works his way into the base to look for that giant robot, screaming in defiance, I'm going to destroy that giant robot that he encountered in the first issue. And he does encounter a giant robot, but it is not a Decepticon. It's not a Transformer. It is one of Destro's bats. So it's one of his androids, which is now a new cameo, or the next cameo in this series of storytelling. that's the long and the short of it. And we ended there with Duke now in a chokehold of one of Destro's robotic soldiers, threatening to kill him. What do we like about Duke number 4? Well, before we do that, let's talk about where this fits into the greater Energon universe. This is an Energon universe story, so it does connect into Transformers and the other miniseries and titles that are going on right now. You don't see a Transformer in this issue, so just if you're looking for cameos, do you see Cliff Jumper or somebody? No, there are no Transformer cameos in this particular issue. But there is still very much that initial motivation for when Duke encountered a Decepticon way back in the main Transformers title, not even in issue number 1. That still motivates everything that Duke is going through and is driving him forward on this adventure. But you don't see any Decepticons, you don't see any Energon. There is nothing Transformer-ish in this issue. What do we like about Duke number 4? Great action, great pacing, really hard-hitting, kind of fast-paced rock'em sock'em action. If that's what you're looking for in a G.I. Joe comic, you get plenty of it. It doesn't go particularly deep. It doesn't go, the plot is not complex. It's get Duke from A to B with as much action and excitement as possible. So if that's what you want out of a G.I. Joe comic, you absolutely get that. What didn't we like about the story? It's starting to feel, I won't say repetitive, but it's definitely falling into a cycle where you take Duke, you put him in an impossible situation, he gets out of it, and he goes to the next leg of his journey. Rinse and repeat. It's not quite repetitive, but it's familiar. And so that's not where you want to be when this is, I believe this is a 6-issue miniseries. You don't want to be in a repetitive cycle at issue number 4. You want bigger things to happen. You're getting some of the cameos, which are cool, but they're not particularly huge or big, or you're not getting wow moments that are blowing you away saying, I got to find out what happens next. You're just basically following one leg after another leg. You're basically hitting save points, if you want to think of it as a video game, which is fine, but it's not exactly blowing me away. So we want a little bit more of that blow me away attitude that you get from the main Transformers arc that was written by Daniel Warren Johnson. It's a little bit less here. Final thoughts. What do we think about Duke number 4 from Image and Skybound? Great, solid, military style, rock'em sock'em G.I. Joe action. It's the Joes versus the Cobras. Lots of cool stuff, lots of big visuals, lots of explosive excitement, and Duke is moving along on his journey. So it's not quite clear where he's going to wind up, but he's certainly getting there. And then you get some cameos at the end, which are tickle that nostalgia bone, which is fantastic. On the flip side, the story is sort of following into a rinse and repeat cycle, which doesn't make it necessarily predictable, but it makes it feel familiar, and you're not getting the big wow moments that you're looking for, which is unfortunate, but it's not terrible. It's just okay. Therefore, we're going to give Duke number 4 from Image Comics and Skybound a solid 8 out of 10. What do you think about Duke and this miniseries? What do you think about the greater Energon universe? Leave a comment down below. Let us know your opinion. We want to hear from you. And if you like comic reviews just like this one, please stay tuned through the outro.